You know, I mean, we haven't really talked much about Brock, but that's a good example of Kyle's directness. You know, last year in preseason, I think week 1 of training camp, which you have a quarterback that we're paying, I think, $20 million to. You have a guy that you drafted with investing 3 first-round picks into, and he grabs me after practice. He's like, hey man, we got to talk. And that's generally not a good thing when your coach tells you got to talk. Like, all right, what's up? And he's like, I think our third-string quarterback's our best quarterback. I'm like, okay. I'm like, what does that mean? He's like, well, obviously, like, we've invested in Trey. Like, Trey's doing a good job. Like, we're going to do everything that we can. We're not going to change that. And we're not going to change the depth chart. But, like, I think Brock will end up being our quarterback at some point. And, like, he didn't force it, right? You had 2 injuries, and that's how Brock ended up playing. But he's always honest, even if it's not, like, one thing that owners don't love to hear when they've invested money and or draft picks or both into people, that the last pick in the draft is the guy that we think is the best. That's generally not great news, but he's honest. And he let it play out the right way.
All right, so that's Jed York talking about Kyle Shanahan.
Now, the end of that,
what
Steiny,
struck you? Did
he let it play out the right way? One, I do appreciate, and I told Evan this, Kyle going to his boss telling him, basically, I messed up, but our third-string quarterback is better than the first 2, but their plan was not to start their best quarterback. That happened by happenstance. The fact that the 2 in front of Brock got hurt. So I guess it boils down, and I somewhat understand it, politics and money on what Jimmy, the veteran, the 3 picks, the investment, the resources they used to get Trey Lance. But if I'm knowing the third-string guy is the best, shouldn't he be playing? And it just worked itself out.
I mean,
you know, both guys got hurt, man.
You know what? Maybe I'll start 2024 with a victory lap. I remember saying there's no chance Trey Lance the best quarterback on this roster. No chance when he started that season.
Oh yeah, right.
No chance.
Chicago and Seattle, he got hurt.
But he was a number 3 pick, so you had to give him a shot. And then you had Jimmy. There's a safety valve, and he put Jimmy in, and then Purdy emerged. Like I don't.
You got a victory lap in there, and you don't even know it. And I told Evan Friday, you said, "Goo, they watch these guys or guy in regard to Trey Lance in practice." And I'm like, Steiny, yeah, they do, but it's not to the point to where Kyle would go up, now that we know, to his boss and say, number 3 is better than Trey. And that's basically what happened, because they got to watch them practice, obviously play too. But you were right. That was your victory lap. Like, you kept saying, they know.
But it's like.
And I was fighting you.
But let's talk a little bit about this, because let's talk about like Shanny and Brandon Aiyuk early in their careers. You know, they had that situation where Shanahan wasn't crazy about, let's face it, Aiyuk's either his work ethic or his inability to block harder downfield. Yeah. We all know that early in Aiyuk's career, he and Shanahan had some differences to work out, whatever you want to call them. And eventually, Aiyuk has now emerged to the number 1 receiver. And to me, I look at it, there's a guy on Twitter, ND somebody. He comes down my road.
He NDT 054.
And he said something like, he said, Steiny, he's right. I don't tend to criticize coaches in front office. I tend to criticize players. Because I think, to me, it's about players more than coaches and all that kind of stuff. So when I look at, like, Kuminga, to me, it's pretty simple. Guess what? Jonathan Kuminga, for 2 years, was learning the game, wasn't playing it the right way, wasn't consistent enough, didn't do enough to help his team, wasn't well-rounded enough, and now he's 2.5 years into his career. He's put together his best 2 or 3 months. Like, I don't say, boy, did Steve Kerr mess that up, or, wow, Steve Kerr was a genius. I look at it as Jonathan Kuminga is finally doing the things that he needs to do consistently, and he's doing them, and he's playing more. And that's what happens. And in the grand scheme of things, to me, Kuminga, like, he's still not even 3 years into his career, so he's still early. Aiyuk, kind of the same. What's this, 4th year for Aiyuk? 3rd or 4th year?
But it never was a talent issue with Aiyuk. I guess you could say that with also.
I don't think it was a talent issue with Kuminga.
Kuminga, yeah.
I mean, they both are incredible athletes.
Doubt. But you do kind of wonder, just from the Kuminga standpoint, Steiny. I'm not saying you're all the way wrong, but others would say maybe if it were a different coach, we could have got this Kuminga sooner. Maybe he would have
2.5 years.
He would have played last year against the Lakers had he got the opportunity, because that's what it boils down to. But he's playing his ass off now.
Well, I think that's okay. So he got drafted. I mean, this is where I think you just got to take a step back. I mean, first of all, this is its third year. Third year for Kuminga or fourth? So he's played 2.5 years. Yeah. 2.5 years, and he was drafted onto a team that was a champion. Mm-hmm. So he got drafted by an NBA champion. He had played no high school or college. And this is the player he was after 2.5 years. I would say anybody that thinks it could have happened sooner is an idiot.
Well,
that's what I would say. Because for somebody to not play organized basketball, to be where he's at right now, it's actually going very quickly.
Well, I would say this to you about that. Then you're calling him an idiot, because
No, I'm not.
He said after last year he didn't like how he was used. That's a fact.
Well, he wasn't ready.
Well, but he thought he was.
But he wasn't.
But I'm not saying right if he was or not. He thought he was. So my point is, he didn't agree with the way he was being treated and the plan that they had him on.
The plan's been perfect.
And then he said some stuff this year, before he took off. I'm just saying he didn't agree with that.
He's just a player.
Right.
And he was a 20-year-old player with no experience. Like, he is exactly where he's supposed to be.